The room above Unit 9. Rain started the night Marcus took the job. Not gentle rain, not the kind that taps softly on windows and helps people sleep. This rain came down hard, angry, hammering the streets, flooding drains, turning the parking lot outside the Ashdown residence into a black mirror of rippling water and broken light. Marcus stood under the flickering sign and looked up at the building. 7 floors. A retirement home, technically. Though from the outside, it looked more like an old hospital that had been forgotten by time and left to rot politely. The brick walls were stained dark from years of weather. Several windows were boarded shut. The security light above the entrance buzzed like a dying insect. And at the top of the building, just under the roofline, there was one narrow square window glowing faint yellow through the storm. Marcus checked the message from the manager again. Night shift only. Good pay. Immediate start. Minimal staff interaction. Do not go to the upper maintenance level unless instructed. He smiled bitterly. Good pay was all he needed to hear. His sister, Lena, had been in the hospital for 3 weeks. The bills were rising faster than he could think. Whatever Ashdown residence really was, it paid enough to keep her treatment going. So he went inside. The lobby smelled like bleach, old paper, and something sour hiding underneath. At the front desk sat a woman in a gray uniform, thin as wire, her silver hair pulled so tight it seemed painful. She did not greet him. She only slid a clipboard across the desk and watched him sign. Marcus Vale, she said, reading the name quietly. Night orderly. That's right. Her eyes lifted to meet his. They were colorless, not blind, just drained. If any resident calls from the 4th floor, do not answer after 2 a.m. Marcus frowned. Why? Because the 4th floor closes at 2. He waited for her to smile. She did not. He cleared his throat. And the upper maintenance level? The elevator opened behind him with a ding so cheerful it felt offensive. The woman handed him a ring of keys and a small radio. Your rounds are simple. Check rooms, replace water, assist anyone awake, basement laundry if needed. If you hear movement above the 7th floor, ignore it. Marcus let out a short breath through his nose. You guys really know how to welcome new staff. Still, no smile. Sign here, she said. He signed. At 11:07 p.m., Marcus began his first round. The lower floors were mostly quiet. A television murmured somewhere behind a half-open door. A man in room 204 slept sitting upright in a chair, mouth open, hands folded in his lap like a wax figure posed for burial. Room 218 smelled of medicine and lavender. Room 301 had a woman awake in bed, staring at the ceiling with wide, glassy eyes. Need anything? Marcus asked softly. She turned her head toward him. Is it raining? She whispered. Yes. Then keep your shoes on. He gave a polite nod, though the answer made no sense, and moved on. By 12:14 a.m., he was on the 4th floor. The air was colder there, not dramatically, just enough that he noticed it. The hallway lights hummed overhead, pale and weak. Several doors were shut, but room 411 stood open. Inside, an old man sat on the edge of his bed wearing a suit jacket over hospital pajamas. He was thin, clean-shaven, and staring toward the hallway before Marcus even reached the doorway. You're new, the old man said. Yeah, Marcus. The man nodded once. I'm Walter. How long did they wait before hiring another one? Marcus leaned against the doorframe. Another what? Another fool. Marcus smiled, despite himself. That's reassuring. Walter did not return the smile. Listen to me carefully, he said. At 2 o'clock, lock yourself somewhere with no vents. Marcus stared at him. Walter continued in the same flat voice. If you hear crying, don't follow it. If someone knocks and says they're staff, check their shoes first. Marcus folded his arms. Is this some kind of prank people do to new workers? Walter's eyes sharpened. Does this look like the place for pranks? Marcus looked around the room. No, it did not. He pushed off the frame. You should get some rest, Walter. Walter watched him leave. You won't, he said. None of us do. At 1:03 a.m., the rain got worse. The windows along the west corridor rattled under the force of the wind. Somewhere in the building, metal banged rhythmically, as if a loose pipe or hanging sign was swinging in the storm. Marcus was refilling a water pitcher in the small nurse station pantry when the first call came through the radio. Static, then a woman's voice. Orderly to upper level. "We need assistance." Marcus reached for the radio. "Who is this?" Static swallowed the voice, then returned. "Upper level. Now." He looked at the label on the elevator panel nearby. "Basement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No upper level." He pressed the talk button. "There's no upper level on the panel." A long pause followed. Then the same woman replied, much softer this time. "There is, if it wants you." The radio died. Marcus stood very still. Then he laughed once under his breath, more to steady himself than from humor, and set the radio down. Old building, old wiring, probably some maintenance channel crossing frequencies. That had to be it. At 1:27 a.m., he finished another round and noticed something strange. Every clock he passed showed a different time. The one in the second floor lounge read 12:51. The one above the nurse station read 1:34. The digital microwave in the staff kitchen blinked 88 to 88. And the antique hallway clock outside room 406 ticked normally, but had no hands at all. Marcus stopped walking. A soft sound drifted from above him. Not rain, not pipes. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps pacing directly overhead. He looked up at the ceiling. 7th floor. Then, roof. There should be nothing above that except maintenance crawl space. The footsteps stopped. Then 3 knocks came from directly above him. Knock, knock, knock. Marcus took a step back. The ceiling light flickered once, and for a split second he saw a wet stain bloom across the plaster above his head, like something had pressed itself against the floor above and leaked through. Then the light steadied. The stain vanished. At exactly 2 a.m., every door on the 4th floor clicked shut. All at once, Marcus jumped. A low mechanical sound rolled through the hallway, though he could not tell where it came from. Then the lights dimmed. Not off, just dim enough to turn every room doorway into a darker rectangle. His radio crackled again. No words this time, just crying. Soft at first, a woman crying somewhere close. The sound trembling with grief so raw it made his chest tighten. It was coming from down the hall, near the old service stairs. Walter's warning returned to him instantly. "If you hear crying, don't follow it." Marcus stared toward the end of the corridor. The crying continued, then became a child's voice. "Mama?" His skin went cold. He took a step backward. The crying stopped immediately. For a moment there was only rain and the distant electric hum of failing lights. Then, from behind the service stairwell door, something hit the metal once. Hard. Marcus flinched. Another hit followed. Then scratching. Long, slow, patient scratching. He backed away until he bumped into the medication cart. His radio hissed. The woman's voice returned, barely above a whisper. "It knows you heard." The lights went out. Full darkness. Marcus swore and yanked his phone from his pocket, turning on the flashlight. Its beam cut a narrow white tunnel through the black hall. Room doors lined both sides like silent mouths. At the far end, the stairwell door was slightly open now. He was sure it had been closed before. Rain thundered on the windows. A shadow moved across the beam. Fast. Too fast to understand. Marcus spun around. Nothing behind him. Then a hand seized his wrist. He nearly screamed. But it was Walter, from room 411, standing barefoot in the dark, his grip surprisingly strong. "In here," Walter hissed. Marcus stumbled into the room as Walter slammed the door and shoved a chair under the handle. Marcus pulled his arm free. "What the hell is going on?" Walter stepped away from the door, breathing hard. In the weak light from Marcus's phone, his face looked older than before, almost gray. It walks the halls from 2 until dawn. What walks? Walter looked at the ceiling. The room above Unit 9. Marcus stared at him. That makes no sense. Nothing in this building makes sense after 2. Walter moved to the vent over the window and stuffed a towel into it with shaking hands. Marcus remembered the warning. No vents. What is this place? Walter looked at him for a long moment before answering. 30 years ago, Ashdown wasn't a residence. It was a recovery ward attached to St. Mercy Hospital. The 7th floor was for long-term psychiatric cases, violent episodes, sleep disorders, hallucinations, self-harm. People nobody wanted to see. Marcus said nothing. Walter continued. There was a fire. That's the official story. Electrical fault. 9 patients dead. 2 nurses missing. They sealed the upper level and rebuilt everything below. Changed the name. Brought in old people. New wallpaper. New furniture. Same bones. Marcus swallowed. And the room above Unit 9? Walter pointed upward. Unit 9 was the isolation room. No windows. 1 bed bolted to the floor. They said 1 patient in there stopped sleeping for 21 days. He kept telling staff there was another room above his ceiling. A room full of people whispering his name. Then one night he clawed his own throat open, trying to get away from whatever was coming down. Marcus felt his mouth go dry. That's just a story. Walter's eyes filled suddenly with tears. My daughter worked here, night nurse, 2 years ago. His voice thinned. She followed, crying into the service stairwell. Silence settled between them. Marcus lowered his phone a little. What happened? Walter's face tightened as if the answer physically hurt. In the morning, they found her shoes outside the locked elevator on 7. Nothing else, just her shoes, standing upright, side by side. A sound came through the vent. Breathing. Not air moving. Breathing. Slow and damp, like lungs working close on the other side of the metal slats. Walter backed away at once. Marcus raised the phone light toward it. Something dark slid behind the grate. A shape. An eye. Huge, pale, and wet. Marcus stumbled backwards so hard he hit the wall. The eye blinked. Then a voice came through the vent in a perfect imitation of Walter's daughter, young and terrified. Dad? Walter broke. He rushed to the vent, one shaking hand reaching toward it. Marcus grabbed him. No! But it was too late. The towel burst outward. A black arm shot through the vent with a sound like tearing meat and wrapped around Walter's face. He screamed. Marcus lunged, pulling at Walter's shoulders while the thing in the vent dragged backward with impossible force. Walter's nails scraped gouges into the floorboards. His scream became a choking wet sound as his body folded toward the wall. Then, with one violent jerk, he was pulled halfway into the vent that should have been far too small to hold a child, let alone a man. Bone cracked. Blood sprayed across the curtains. Marcus let go and fell backward as Walter disappeared into darkness with a final horrible shriek that cut off instantly. The vent snapped shut. Silence. Only rain. Only Marcus's ragged breathing. Only Walter's blood running slowly down the wall beneath the grate. Marcus stared. His mind simply refused to understand what he had seen. Then the radio on the bedside table crackled. "Orderly," said the woman's voice calmly. "Please."